too fast. There we go. All right. Welcome to Encore. This is the show for Encore entrepreneurs ages 50 and above. But if you're younger, stay tuned. You might learn something too. And we're here to discuss entrepreneurship for those who are 50. So just pay attention, learn, see what you can learn. As you can see, we have our special guest star for today, his Santa. This is perfect for Christmas Eve. Santa Ed Taylor. Now, Santa is the ultimate Encore entrepreneur. I can't think of a better person to interview, especially today being Christmas Eve. So welcome, Ed. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited about this. I know this kind of all came together at the last minute, and we carved out some time to do it. I'm really excited. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're on location, so we're going to call this our special edition.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
On location today. All right. I just want to hear about your story because I think it's an amazing story. You started off as a volunteer Santa, and now you're a full-time Santa. And just tell me about that a little bit.
You know, I spent a bulk of my career as a professional speaker, a marketing consultant, all those kinds of things. And somewhere along the line, I was asked by a friend of mine who had become ill, who had volunteered himself to be Santa at a little charity event. And he called me, pleaded with me to be, to fill in for him. And I think, no. And at the time I had a beard, but it was very, very short. It wasn't white at all. And very short hair. But anyway, I acquiesced and I volunteered, I filled in for him. And it was the funniest thing. I walked out of there that evening, got in the car with my wife, and I said, that was the most fun that I've had in a really long time. I mean, everybody just loves Santa. And I found like there's a part of me that I just loved expressing, kind of the Santa heart, I've come to call it. I didn't have a name for it then, but I love that part of me. And so I told my wife, I said, I'm going to volunteer next year to anywhere that'll have me. So the next year I was in parades and a few things locally and some hospital fundraisers and the like. And I did that for 7 years and just loved every single minute of it. And then about 4 years ago, I decided, I want to kind of get away from what I was doing. I was in my late 50s. And I just wanted to embrace the whole Santa thing more. And I challenged myself. I said, what can I do with this? What more can I do to help keep the spirit of Christmas alive? And, anyway, I decided to go to Los Angeles. I was up in Southern Oregon at the time. So now I've been spending months at a time in LA, and I'm doing television commercials. I was just on a Food Network program. In fact, they did a little trailer with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg for their new movie, Daddy's Home. So I'm just like doing all this crazy fun stuff in Los Angeles. I'm Santa Claus for Facebook and Mattel Toys and, all these great people. So it has been this totally new, unexpected, exciting, new venture for me. So that's kind of the nutshell of what's evolved over the last 4 or 5 years for me here.
Wow, that's great. I'm so happy for you. So you've been very successful at this. I understand. I heard somewhere in one of your interviews you made like $100,000 last year being Santa. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot. And for this kind of work, I mean, most Santas, they work in a mall or something, and they don't make anywhere near that. I was incredibly blessed to be recruited for a spokesperson position for an iPhone app called Hello Santa. And so they paid me very nicely. I did a ton of work for them in addition to all my regular things. So that gave me a really financially a very good year last year, as well as good in every other way. I mean, emotionally it was good. Everything about it, we had a really good time. Unfortunately, that app, they did not go forward with it this year, but they are going to bring it back out next year. So I'm talking with them again right now about doing more work with them next year. So the financial aspect of it, and and everybody's in different places in their life financially. for me, what I've found is I want to do work that I really enjoy. I mean, I don't want to do work that I don't enjoy, period. So, but I do need to make income. I mean, I've had a nice career, but I not only do I want to make money, but I need to make money. So, but I do have some kind of boundaries on what I'm willing to do and what I want to do. So as Santa, it's like totally embrace like the spirit of what Christmas is all about. And so anyway, so that's how I've kind of evolved into this, and fortunately, I've done really, really well. So in every, like I say, in every aspect of it, I've exceeded every expectation that I've had for myself. So really exciting.
Well, that shows you right there. If you follow your passion, you never know what doors might open for you. So,
totally. I mean, that's absolutely right. Now, I will say this, and I think this can be a little takeaway for people that might be looking for a similar thing to do. So, not being Santa, but something where they're in their 50s or older and say, they want to go out and pursue something. Here's what I did. I was a volunteer Santa, again, for many years, and I don't think that I became any better during any of those years as Santa Claus. It's interesting. I was good. I had fun. I think I was jolly, and I evoked the spirit in people, I'm sure. But when I decided to really look at this professionally and really kind of, wanted to go out and perform and really move people, I challenged myself to become better. I took classes in improv and classes in acting, and I am better now. I mean, the people have more fun with me. I put on a better, and I hate to use the word put on a show or a performance, but kind of that's what it is. I just was in an event the other night, and Sidney Poitier was in the audience, and I'm sitting there on stage, performing, and I'm looking at all these stars out there, and Sidney is like front and center right in front of me, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is so incredible. But I also had a sense of confidence that, I'm pretty good at this. I mean, I've learned enough to really feel comfortable that I'm performing at an extraordinary level. So that's something that I want to just put out there to people, that when you're taking on this new entrepreneurial vocation, challenge yourself to become extraordinary, to do things that expand your comfort zone. I took an improv class with a whole bunch of 30-somethings, and here I am, a 61-year-old guy, and it was scary. It was one of the most scary things I've done. And I've done some scary, I've jumped out of airplanes and done fire walks. I've done all kinds of crazy things in my life, but this was scary. But week after week, I kept going back and getting better and getting more comfortable. Now I stay in touch with all these people on Facebook, and they're rooting me on, So
that's fantastic.
Get better. That's my message. Totally. In fact, I opened up a little Santa Claus training school. And my buzzword for the school, it's called the Santa Claus Conservatory. And every week, every time we do a class, it's like, what can you do to become extraordinary? I mean, not just good enough, not okay, but extraordinary, when so that you wow everybody you're around. So
do
that's
you guys do that
difference.
virtual?
Huh?
Do you do it virtually?
Well, yeah, it's all done like this. We use a program called GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. But we do it this way, and everything's recorded, so they have access. They can go back and review them, and it's great. Love it. I love this
I would
technology.
love to see a screenshot of all the Santas doing this
totally
better thing. You got to do that. You got to put that out.
And I have those. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's so much fun. And I have friends. Of course, at my age, I have a lot of friends who are my age. And some of them have done exceptionally well with their finances, and they're, seeing the country in motorhomes or cruising all the time, doing all this stuff. But I have others who are looking at life and saying, I don't see a retirement in my future. I see myself just working forever. And I don't know wherever you are in any of this, yeah, but it's important, and I think it's important forever, but it's certainly important at this point in our lives when we're 50, 60, 70 years old. If we're going to be working, we have to love it. I mean, I think it, in fact, I wrote a little book. I don't even know if you knew this, but I wrote a little book called How to Become an Encore Entrepreneur. And I went through and I made notes of all of the things that were really important to me about identifying the kind of work that I wanted to do. I had to be challenged by it. I had all these things that were important to me. And then I went around and I interviewed other Encore entrepreneurs and said, what was important to you? So we have 4 other stories in the book, or 3 others, 4 stories total, about people who have embarked on incredibly fun and passion-driven post-50 entrepreneurial careers. And it's a short little book, it's a quick little read, but the concept behind it all is find your passion, something that you love doing. And if you can't find it, just, Tony Robbins, he was a client of mine for many years, and he says he has a little thing he calls act as if, which in this case, if you don't have a passion, act as if you do. Right. And so just act as if, find something that you care about. If it's fishing or golfing or motor, RVing or, it doesn't matter what, raising children or doing whatever. Find something that you have some passion for, and then look at it and say, how can I build a business up from this, doing things that I love to do every day? So sorry, got on a little rant.
Yes, that's okay. You get a lot of applause for that. Thank you. But you know what? How important is passion? I mean, it really keeps you going on those days where you might not be making money, right? That's like the key.
Totally. I mean, as entrepreneurs, anybody that's started their own business, they have to know that a big part of being in business is doing things that you don't see immediate return on. So it's not like going to work. You go to work and you say, okay, I make $20 an hour or whatever the thing is. And you say, I went in, I put in, 5 hours, I made $100. Encore entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, you might go to work 5 hours, look up and say, what have I done? And nobody paid me for any of it, and it might not be 5 hours. It might be 50 hours. It might be 500 hours. We spend a ton of time doing things that we don't immediately get a paycheck for. If you Google on me, if you Google on Santa Claus for hire, Santa Claus Los Angeles, Santa Claus actor Los Angeles, all these things, I show up on Google. And the reason I do is because I've put in a ton of time writing blog posts and optimizing pages of websites and doing all this marketing stuff that I don't get paid for directly. But I do get paid for ultimately when people find me and hire me and put me in a television program or a corporate event or whatever. So if what we're doing doesn't spark us, doesn't really, we're not fired up about it, we just tend to not do that stuff. We just don't, we don't get the juice from it. For me, I'm incredibly blessed because of this, so a few years ago, I decided I'm going to just embrace it. I'm letting the hair grow, letting the beard out.
That's the way to do it.
So now if I'm driving down the freeway or in a gas station or at a grocery store, I don't care. It could be January or April. It doesn't make any difference. People say, hey, Santa, hey, can we get a picture? And of course in December, I can't do anything without getting pictures taken, and I love that. Some people, like some of my friends say, don't that get tiring or, don't you get tired? It's like, if I got tired doing it, I just wouldn't even be doing this. I mean, I just love doing this. That's why I do it. So I'm honored when people come over, so find something that you get that kind of juice from, whatever it is, so that you can really feel like, hey, I'm making a difference. I am having fun. And then you'll, everything else, like say, it kind of builds steam as you move down the road a little bit. So.
Right. No, I agree. And Sean here, he's one of our live audience members who's watching. He said that once you start, basically, The moment you, wait a minute, hold on a minute. The moment you lose passion for something, it becomes a job. Exactly what he wrote. So that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
exactly right. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
this whole job concept. And again, some of my best friends are people that worked real jobs their whole life. I'm not, I didn't. I've been entrepreneurial my whole life. But I know a lot of people, they worked in a machine shop, or they worked at they were a city employee or something. And they don't have the mindset or necessarily the skill set to develop their little entrepreneurial business. But oftentimes there's a passion in there, so they need to learn what is marketing. What does that mean? How do you do that effectively? How do you what all those little things? And it's not hard, but it is little skill sets that maybe for you or for me, who have been doing entrepreneurial things our whole life, it kind of becomes a little second nature for us. So I really think it's important for people to not overinvest in marketing plans and overinvest in consultants and things. You want to learn your own skills and test it a little bit, get comfortable doing these things, make sure there's a market for your business, that kind of thing, and then build it up out of kind of sweat equity and a little bit of capital if necessary, but don't go plow in 50 grand on your little business that, might make it 10 grand a year or 20 grand a year or something. Be smart with all of that. Don't get emotional,
Right.
So.
No, I agree. And for those who just joined, we are interviewing Santa Ed Taylor. He is the ultimate Encore entrepreneur, being over 50, and he's just giving us some advice on how to start our own businesses, especially if you're 50 and above, because it can somewhat be challenging for those who are 50 above. But if you're younger, stay tuned, like I said, because you can always learn something. So let me ask you about, what do you think the biggest obstacle might be for entrepreneurs who are over 50 trying to get into the business or any business?
Well, it's your mindset. I mean, that your biggest obstacle is almost always yourself, kind of regardless of what you're doing. I mean, it's really easy to talk yourself out of anything. And it's also easy, if you have a little bit of a nest egg, to think that money is going to solve the problem of whatever the business is. That if I had a better logo or a better this or something, so it's easy to kind of beat your own self up emotionally, or to kind of lose your connection, or to think money will solve your problems. My thought on this is that what we need to do is, again, try to find that passion, something that we have that we really care about, and then build it up slowly. I mean, I volunteered as a Santa for 7 years. I mean, one of the people that I interviewed in our little book, I mean, she partnered into a pig farm. She's one of these paleo people, that they eat all the meat and all that kind of stuff. And she just did a whole bunch of different things. She was a mortgage broker and stuff, but she wanted to be a farmer. But she didn't want to plow all of her money into a farm because she'd never had a farm before. She found another woman who had a farm that needed help. And then she started working on this farm with her a little bit on kind of an equity split deal. So it didn't cost her anything in the beginning. Then she started putting a little money in and taking a little more money out. Now it's a nice little business for her. So there are creative ways to look at finding what your passion is and getting into it without risking a whole lot of capital. Because that's what's really important when you get to this point in life. Whatever your nest egg is, you don't want to squander it. I mean, I think it's really important to recognize that. So that, I guess, I'm not sure exactly what your question was or if I answered it, but that was kind of my thoughts around it.
Well, basically, if they were on the fence and they were, trying to decide if they should go into business or not, that was the question. Should they? I mean, what would your advice be to them? Should they just go for it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think go for it, but go for it with a lot of caution. I mean, again, let your business drive your business. My wife and I don't have one in front of me. We just wrote a book this year called Selfie Elfie. It's a little children's book. We had never written a children's book before. It's a cute little book with a really nice story, a neat moral and everything. And my wife's an artist, so she illustrated it all, and it's wonderful, wonderful. But we just jumped in. I mean, she came up with the name and the concept, and I kind of helped develop the story. And we just said, let's do this. Let's just make it. Well, this was a much bigger project than anybody could have imagined. I mean, if we had just the idea of writing a children's book and what's involved in that, we probably never would have started. But what happened was we just kind of, I mean, we didn't stick our head in the sand exactly, but we just followed the passion. It didn't take us a lot of money. It took us a lot of time. My wife spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours doing the illustrations for it. But once we got it done, it's like, you know, it was we got something done. I mean, I have my books. This children's book is in Barnes and Noble right now. I mean, I did a book signing and a story reading earlier this year for children in a Barnes and Noble store with the book. So, wow. You know, it's like, and it's not making us a ton of money or anything. Maybe it will next year. I don't know. We didn't get it launched until about Thanksgiving this year, so it was late onto the market. But we didn't come up with the idea until June. So we did a whole lot in a short period of time, and all the people that we've come to know in this process, they're like, oh my God, you guys pulled off a miracle. I mean, nobody does that. You know, this is what you did was impossible. Well, they're kind of right. I mean, but again, it was just the idea of following a passion. But if we would have looked at it and said it's going to cost you $10,000 to do this, we wouldn't have done it. But because my wife was the illustrator and we could do it with, you know, sweat equity, we did, and we jumped into it. Love it, and we feel like this sense of accomplishment. We feel the book has a great message. We're getting great reviews, so it feeds us that way, and you know, hopefully it'll economically feed us as well. So,
wow. No, that's awesome. Now, I have to ask you, because you mentioned your wife. Now, does your wife play Mrs. Claus at all?
She does. You know, it took a little while, a little convincing. Like initially, when I was asked to fill in for my friend to be a volunteer Santa, I was reluctant. Now, my wife saw me out having fun doing this for several years in a row, and I was in a parade every year. So one year I asked her, or every year I asked her, but one year she finally said, yes, I'll be in the parade if I can have a really nice Mrs. Claus outfit that matches yours. And again, she's very artistic. She designed a beautiful gown and overcoat. I mean, very, very beautiful Mrs. Claus outfit that we had it all made for her. And then she was in this parade, and people just loved her. And she said, oh, I can see what you like about this. You know, so now she does a small number of events with me, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10, something like that each year, and mostly corporate events or big public appearances. We do a tree lighting at the Santa Monica Promenade here, and she's in part of that. So she does some. I do a ton. Like later today, this is Christmas Eve. I have 8 homes I'm going to today. Wow. So going in, making little home visits.
I love it.
I did, you know, it's so much fun. You know, and earlier this week, I was at a preschool in a very rough area in LA, and it's a county-owned school, all locked down. And I'm kind of bringing my Santa-ness, and all these little kids, they love Santa. In fact, earlier, you know, last week actually, I took, with the help of a church called the Dream Center, we delivered 150 bicycles to the children of women inmates at a correctional institution here in Los Angeles. So some of what I get to do is like, you know, just like, oh my goodness, this is so heartwarming. It's so, you know, it's so magical what we can do. And of course, as Santa, I don't really get to make all this stuff and deliver it, but we have incredible helpers, people that help me be this person who can deliver some amazing things and really lift people's spirits. So, you know, to me, I just find it an incredible blessing that I'm able to do this. And Mrs. Claus, she loves to do it as well. But she's, you know, you can probably tell I'm a talker. I'm all the things that I am. She's an artist. You know, she would just as soon be sitting down with a paintbrush and doing her thing. But like I say, so she does a little bit each year.
Well, I just love that Santa lives in Southern California.
Well, I actually split my time. I'm in Los Angeles 6 months or so a year, and I'm in Southern
Yeah.
Oregon.
Oh, yeah, you
My
did say that.
children are in Southern Oregon, and we spend about 6 months a year up there.
Okay.
Hanging out with them and doing all the stuff up there. And since most of what I do during the year, it's kind of virtual. All my Santa training and writing and all that, I can do it from anywhere. And again, that's an important thing to me in identifying the work I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to be pretty mobile. If we wanted to take a trip or do something, I could still take and hold one of my Santa classes from anywhere that I show up, thanks to technology. We can write our books, and she can do her art anywhere we go. So we love that part, that kind of flexibility. Now, in order to have the impact I want to have as Santa, I could be a Santa anywhere for sure. But to have the impact I want to have and to be on television and to do all these things, Los Angeles is a nice hub for that. So that's one of the reasons that I like being down here. Plus, we have a lot of family here. So I can see my parents and brother and sister, and even my grandmother, who we just hosted a 100th birthday party for in November. Yeah, so she's in Southern California. So it's nice to be able to have a foot in each world a little bit.
Well, 100th birthday. Congratulations on that.
Oh, I know. She's amazing.
Now, you are a great marketer. You were a marketer before you were Santa. And Sherry said something earlier. She said that you have the right idea to keep working and let the world find you. So with your SEO and all the things, your blog posts and all of that's been working really well for you.
Well, that's a great point, because I have to tell you that, and who said that? Sherry. You hit on something that's really close to my heart. And here's why. I felt as a marketer and a sales guy for a lot of years that, and then this may be misguided, but I felt like I was kind of being manipulative. There's a lot of sales tactics and even advertising and marketing tactics that are kind of manipulative. I didn't feel as good about them. And I kind of went through this spiritual rediscovery in my mid 50s. And all these things started bothering me. It's like, what am I doing here? I don't like what this is. And it's weird because, in my 30s, I loved it. I found it as a huge challenge, and I loved the manipulation of language and the emotional triggers and all that kind of stuff. But in my mid 50s, I looked at it and said, I don't like this anymore. I don't like to be that guy. So today I'm all about not really selling myself, in that more traditional way. It's like I do my thing. And I tell this to people all the time. I do my thing. I try to do it as well as I can. And this is just me. I want to do it as big as I can. I want to have as much impact as I can. So that gets me in front of people. But yeah, I don't really sell myself. I just do my thing, and I put it up on social media. I do have an agent in Los Angeles that submits me to commercial auditions and all that. I have 3 commercials on the air this year. I have a commercial for Band-Aid that's running. I have a commercial for Kohl's, the department store, and one for Ready Whip that are all on the air this year. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that was,
congratulations.
Yeah. But again, it's not about me pitching myself. I don't cold call anybody about anything or any of that. I don't send out mailers, or I don't do any of that. I just I put a lot of stuff online, and I do want to show up on Google organically. I don't advertise on there. Well, I have advertised the books and different things on Google, but for my own Santa services, I don't. And it works really well for me. So I would really encourage people to be kind of organic in your presentation of what you are. Not that you don't need some advertising potentially, you might. But for me, it's better if you can get the word of mouth going. And today, with the technology the way it is, it's doable. It's really doable to build a community, build a network online that can really help, kind of build and grow your business. So part of what I do now is I kind of coach and consult people because I wrote this little Encore Entrepreneur book. And so part of the talks that we have has to do with how do I get customers. So, part of that is, creating that internet presence. And again, for a lot of people 50 plus, this is a bit foreign to them. It's like, they're not necessarily internet lovers, if you don't embrace it, you have an uphill battle. I'll say that.
Right. I absolutely agree. Now, Santa is very busy today, so I don't want to keep him too long. I have one more question for you, but I just got to say, I love how the comments below bring out the child in every adult. So, because there are no children on here, but everyone's saying Merry Christmas, Santa. So I think that is just fantastic. That was great. But my last question is basically, what's the first step for an Encore entrepreneur? Is it the business plan? Is it just getting the motivation? What is the first step, and how important is that?
Yeah, I think it's the inspiration. It's certainly not the business plan. The people that I've interviewed and the people who I know, the business plan is really not even a thing. I mean, everybody will tell you that you need a business plan, you need a marketing plan, you need all this kind of stuff. I look at it and say, not so much. I didn't really have any of that. And I know about them all. I've taken classes. I know that stuff. Here's the deal. At this point in your life, it's the inspiration for the business. You have to have something that you love, that you love to talk about, that you are excited about. And there's probably a ton of ways to do business other than that, but it's just not what I'm into. I can't help you there. So the inspiration comes first. Find something that you're passionate about and that you love, and then find a way to make it available. Well, you need to have the stuff, whether it's something that you're going to make a product, whether, for me, when I decided to make my services available as Santa Claus at corporate parties or at things like that, first thing I did was created two documents. One was an order form. So if somebody says, I want to hire you, I can say, here's the document, fill this out. It puts a place on there for their credit card number. So it says, this is the date, the time, the location, and here's my credit card number. All right. So I gave them a vehicle in which to engage me. The second thing I needed was something that explains the engagement itself. What is the product here? So I will be Santa Claus. I will come in, I'll tell stories, I'll read books, I'll entertain, whatever those things are. And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, if you're a gardener, I interviewed a guy who is a, I don't know what the polite way to say it, but he killed gophers. He's a gopher killer. He's like 60 something, and he came up with ways to trap moles and gophers, and that became his Encore job. But again, he had to describe, here's what I offer, here's how you engage me, and that's what you need to do. And then go out and see what people buy it. Now, in the gopher killer's case, they did. And he built a business that was more, that gave him more work than he wanted. He had to actually, he sold a territory to some other guy and showed him all the tricks of the trade. So, because it was very successful for him. So find the inspiration and then find a way to make it available to people. I'm talking right now about going out and becoming a speaker, like a motivational speaker on Encore Entrepreneur. So what I have to do is I have to come up with, what do I charge for that? How long do I talk? What am I covering? So that if people were, wanting to evaluate me, they'd have something to evaluate. And then I would say, here's my agreement, retain me. Right? If you want to. So that I think is starting point. No matter what your product or services is, have a way for people to buy it and have a way to explain what it is.
That's perfect. So before we go, just tell me about your book. And if you could show it again, that'd be great. Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So it's called How to Become an Encore Entrepreneur. You can see it's very thin. I don't even know how many pages. It's like 70 pages. So, but we go through stories that explain exactly what we're talking about here, how to find your passion, and then how to move into that with very little financial outlay, minimize all your risk and start to get customers, and then see if you have something that has merit and see if you really like it. It'd be really easy to think you would like to do something until you start doing it and say, oh, this sucks. I don't want to do this. This is terrible. So it's easy to you just need to step into it, build it, and then see where it goes and see if you're on the right path. And if you're not, do something different. I started doing my Santa Claus stuff, kind of corporate events and all that. At first, I hated those. It's like, I don't even want to do this. There's no kids. It's not even fun. Now I look at it and say, adult parties, they are so much fun. All these, 20, 30, 40-year-olds that are in there getting pictures with Santa, they're just having a blast. I love those now, and I used to not like them. There's so many personal evolutions that we can go through. We evolved in what we're doing, and it could be positively or negative. We could say we love this or not so much. Like I do I can't even believe I'm doing television commercials and being on television programs. Fantastic. And all. I can't believe that was nowhere in my radar. I love it. I love it in so many ways because every aspect of it is brand new to me. But at the same time, there's a lot of times where you're on a set maybe for 8 or 10 or 12 hours and you're working for 2 or 3 hours of that. So then you have to look at it and say, how do I reconcile this? Is it okay to be spending all this time? And it's not even about the money. The money's, I get paid well, but now I look at it and say, what can I learn here? What else can I do here? Who else can I talk to here? So I'm looking at it and I'm getting more out of it than just the thing, just the shoot itself. So anyway, you just have to find ways to find something in what you're doing that you can get juiced about, get excited about, and then go with it.
That sounds good. Now, before we go, if all who are watching can just tweet this out, it will tweet out the replay. So other people, you can share it with them and they can see exactly what we talked about, Experience Santa today. Now, I just want to say our next interview is with Michael Makowitz. He's an entrepreneur and he will show you how to be profitable as an entrepreneur. And that's on January 4th. But Santa, your book is available on Amazon.com, correct?
It is, yeah.
That's where they can get it?
Okay. Amazon. Absolutely.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy you and what you're doing here. And if there's anything more that I can do for anybody listening or might want to listen, they can find me at edtaylor.com. That website, edtaylor.com, there's a whole litany, it's kind of a hub. And there's all the different things that I do, including that Santa Guy, which is a YouTube channel and a toy review thing, which is I'm just looking for everything I can do to have more and more fun in my life. So anyway, if I can help anybody, get in touch. After tomorrow, after Christmas, today and tomorrow I'm busy. After that, I'd love to talk.
A little busy, right? Yeah. Okay, no problem. Well, thank you again. Hang in there 1 minute. Thank you.